About the theme for this first couple of episodes. As I said before, I like this Catholic theme about crime and punishment. Very true to the original story and some kind of special for an American TV show. Because most of them do not engage in any religious symbolic or storyline. And if they do so, then mostly not the Catholic kind. But since the original French novel is highly influenced by the Catholic religion in France, this seems fitting. Though I doubt that either Emily nor the Graysons are very religious people. Till this season we have never seen anyone from the show in a church. Besides the baptism of baby Carl, of course. But even the 2 weddings in season 2 took not place in a church. Jack and Formanda married on the beach and Nolan was their officiant. So they had no priest. And the Graysons remarried in the open, too. About the Grayson yacht. It is funny that now when the Grayson have money problems we actually get to see how wealthy they are. I mean, we always see their big house, the designer clothes and big parties, but we have not seen that much showing off fancy cars, yachts and expensive jewelry. But now it seems they have to recompensate all that in a couple of episodes. First, this scene which feels like a modern commercial. I do not know if you recognize this commercial. But here in Germany, Raffaello is a very famous sweet from Italian chocolate brand Ferrero. It is one of my favorite sweets for the summer. 'Cause it is made out of coconut cream and white almond. Anyway, the commercial is very much like this shot of Victoria with her white hat and blue bathing suit on the yacht. I have found some old commercials from the time Revenge was running, so you will see the resemblance. Anyway, always when I see this I must think about Raffaello. Spoiler alert, I like how he is playing with Victoria here. He almost got me, especially when he is teasing her with David Clarke. I think that was a test how far he can go. But it was a very bold move, cause it could have led Victoria straight to the truth about Emily. Though it did not last that long, I like the pairings and alliances they forged this season. First Victoria and Aiden against Emily. Then Charlotte and Daniel working together with Victoria to get Emily out of their lives. It seems anyone is teaming up with Victoria to get rid of Emily in season 3 and 4. By the way, I like Aiden's style this season. In season 2 him and Daniel were a little bit stiff with all T's business suits. Daniel gave it a little edge with his vest. But Aiden looked very much the same beside his revenging outfits. Those summer-style shirts with stripes and the more casual look really suits him. He looks very British and distinguished, like a modern version of James Bond. About Daniel, Margaux and Voulez. I know this was just an excuse to get Margaux into the picture, but I really like the idea that Daniel is making something different. I mean, he obviously always wanted to make something creative like writing, and with his financial knowledge he could be a really help for Margaux, who obviously is searching for investors. And this will keep Daniel occupied while Emily is plotting her revenge. 'Cause she cannot afford him snooping all round at the beach house. He even could find her secret hiding spot for the infinity box if he was that kind of bored. And I just adore her reaction. It really seems as if Emily has not that much expectations and trust in Daniel's capabilities. About Conrad and Charlotte. As I said in my episode talks from season 2. The one thing I like about season 3 was that the show's focus is finally shifting towards Conrad as the big bad. First we see him literally on the ground and he seems to be very needy and weak. I love Charlotte's role in this and how their relationship is changing very fast in the next couple of episodes. Here she seems to be his rock, now he is in need of her helping hand. Underlines how fast she has grown up between this and the last season, which must have been somewhat of a half year. About Emily's new target. Father Paul was one of my favorite targets from this season, though his competition was not as big as the one from the first season. But I like that he was something different. Not only that he broke with Conrad cause Pascal did the same. No, he seems after Mason, who is still a volatile ally, the first target who shows something like remorse. And what could speak more of a bad conscience than joining the church as a priest? But what I really enjoyed is his immediate connection to Emily. It seems as if they got inspired by the original story. Cos Father Abbey had the biggest influence on Edmond Dantes and schooled him in revenge. Very much like Takeda's role in the flashbacks and the first season. Maybe because he was gone they tried to find a substitute for him. I really wished they had made him stay longer. His impact on Emily and their chemistry were really great. And he is not dumb, he assumes from the start that there is something going on. But since he is a man of the church, he thinks that God has something to do with it and does not recognize how manipulative Emily is. Anyway, I really like how he speaks with Emily. After Nolan and Jack, he is the first one who has real compassion for her and just speaks from the heart with no ulterior motives. Like most the people Emily gets in touch with. Must have been a huge relief for Emily not having to pretend with him. He could have been someone to confine in. Other than Nolan, Jack and Aiden, who are constantly judging her and telling her what to do or not to do. Father Paul could have been an ally to unburden Emily's soul. If Conrad and Victoria are in need for a confessor, so is Emily. Cause she has done and set in motion many things that burden her soul and for which she feels responsible. Formander's death for starters. About Charlotte and Jack. Another unexpected pairing for this season. I think they bond about the shared loss of Formander and Declan. So this is not that surprisingly as Victoria's and Aiden's alliance. It is good that Jack shows some responsibility for Charlotte. Cause that should have been Emily's job as her sister. Charlotte would have been a lot more out of control and messier this season if Jack had not kept an eye on her. As I said multiple times, Charlotte's life would have been much easier if she had known the truth and Emily would have taken care of her. Back to Father Paul. Even though Emily opened the playfield, it was Paul's decision to visit Conrad. I like that he seems to be that easy to manipulate at first sight. But in fact is far more smarter and self-aware than Emily and the audience had expected. Now that I think about it, he is my favorite character from the whole season, even though he had not that much time to leave such a big impression. About Nolan's new hobby. I love how eccentric and quirky Nolan gets in this season. The tech nerd from season 1 and 2 was not nearly as entertaining as Nolan in season 3 and 4. Him backing is kind of odd, but it suits his undying hunger for new experiments and knowledge. I think besides saving Padma from the initiative, Nolan was a bit unchallenged in season 2. Because he was some kind cast aside with Aiden as Emily's primarily ally and lover. And here comes the conscious topic I was talking about. It is great that Father Paul seems to be a totally new problem for Emily. Most of the time they had no issue in finding dirt they could use to their advantage. So no one who did not deserve it was hurt. Father Paul seems indeed to have changed and therefore is no good target for Emily. Like Ryan Huntley in season 1, who was David Clarke's attorney, the idea of making Father Paul an ally instead of a potential target was not a bad idea. One thing I like the look of the two. Both wearing white underlines how much they look like siblings. I will always think of Nolan as Emily's older brother. And if David did not get arrested, I think Nolan would have been much more in touch with little Amanda. Maybe even as a babysitter or like an uncle. About the journey of Nolan's muffins. I like how playful they are in this season. Sure, it was nothing special that the muffins are traveling, though Emily's hand to the Graysons and with Victoria back to Nolan. But it was a funny little stunt if you think about how dark this season gets at the end. And I really love the plotline with Emily as Conrad's nurse.
It is a real twisted way of taking control about his medicine and increasing the pressure for him to confess his crimes. Bringing his favorite blueberry muffins is just a coincidence since Nolan baked them, but I guess that will be something Emily researched as well. About Jack, Emily and Charlotte. Nice idea bringing him together with puppets this season. First with real ones like in this scene and later with the little fake one he gives Emily. Too bad he did not purchase a new one. I really miss the dog and the happy childhood memories they showed us in season 1. But I guess they did not want to overdo this since Emily and Jack now have so much more that connects them. Anyway, though I hate them fighting, this is one of my favorite scenes with the two from season 3. Not only because Jack has a point. Emily is really denying her responsibility for Charlotte. Worse, she is constantly using her sister for her own personal revenge. And now that Jack knows the truth and has to keep the secret himself, he is forced to live with this bad conscience. The dialogue in this is really well written and shows us the pain and also kind concern Jack feels for Charlotte. Maybe in season 2, as the relationship of Charlotte and Declan progressed, he even imagined her as a daughter-in-law. And he must have felt sorry for her after knowing that she lost his little niece or nephew. So how the relationship between the two went down in this season was double tragic. And again, this is all Emily's fault because she could not keep Charlotte and Jack out of this game. His last quote really sums it up, because Emily's problem will always be the same. She is so fixed about her problem with punishing the Graysons and all their conspirators that she loses sight of the good people she hurts in the process. About Grayson financial problems and Victoria's penchant for art. That was something I really liked about Patrick's plotline. Pursuing this streak of Victoria's character and history, her passion for art, and combining it with Patrick's talent as an artist was smart. Gave their relationship and the whole show another level. So far we know from season 2 that she left Patrick behind to study art in France with a scholarship. That must be the reason why Grayson Manor has these French wipes with the checker floor and her throne. And surely is the reason why Charlotte always talks about Paris. Maybe even the reason why Emily brought back the plan to go to Paris with Daniel just to tease Victoria, who seems to love this city. Anyway, in season 1 we get to know that she met Conrad in a gallery where she worked together with this art forger and affair of her. So she made Conrad buy a forgery and changed her future by marrying him. And now we get to know that she has a vast art collection. Not only for monetary reasons, as it might have been Conrad's idea, but for her expertise and love for art. So this is a new connection between Victoria and her son that only the two share, since neither of her other children seems to be interested in art. Besides Daniel's penchant for poetry. About Emily's takedown of Father Paul. If you think about how nice he is even to Emily, this episode is really about going too far. When she hits him and exposes his darkest secret, I really felt sorry for him. Especially because of Emily Van Camp's performance as she walks by. She is really devastated and ashamed of herself. You can not only see but feel how sorry she feels, and her bad conscience is heartbreaking every time I watch this scene. Especially because Paul was so friendly and open with her and even made her cry because she talked so nice about all the feelings Emily buries since she lost her dad. Paul seems to reach her at a whole other level and seems to look deep in her heart. And seems as if genuinely wants to make it right in his own way. So her little takedown just backfires cause she takes this opportunity away from him. Needless to say that this was one of my favorite scenes from this season, too. You see why I love this season so much. From the beginning it was far stronger and much more heartbreaking than most of the stuff from season 2. About Margaux trying to seduce Daniel. This was a clever trick.
Especially if you think about how Emily's and Daniel's relationship goes down in the next couple of episodes. I really thought he would use this opportunity. 'Cause Emily is so engaged with her revengender that she would never know about this little one-night stand.
It is interesting that Margaux is after Daniel right from the start.
I wonder if they had in mind to mirror Emily's and Jack's childhood fling. Would have been nice to see flashbacks of little Daniel with this nice French girl at summer holiday in France. I guess again it is due to budget that they could not actual shoot in France and with new child actors. I still wonder why she is so determined to seduce him. She seems to think Emily is nice, so why cannot she let it go? Or do they just want to establish the American cliché about Europeans and especially French people that they have loose moral standards, and do not give a damn about having fun with other people who are engaged or even married? Still, it was intriguing, especially with this smart cut at the end. You really wonder if Daniel has a bad conscience cause he slept with her and now cannot believe that he betrayed Emily in this way. For now their relationship seems at least as strong as in season 2. But we saw in the season before some warning signs on Emily's side. 'Cause after Aiden coming back and reclaiming her heart, her relationship towards Daniel changed again. Their rekindled romance in these 2 seasons is this time fake from her side, and she is not at all emotionally involved, as she was in season 1. I know for many Emily fans this is the reason why they do not like how the writers developed their relationship. But for me this is very much the reason why I like season 3 and their relationship that much. 'Cause we have all those complicated layers. In a way Emily and Daniel will always be in love with each other. Even though, or maybe because they both feel this strong hate. I think that in this and the next season their relationship was stronger than ever. Because finally she can be honest with him. First, by letting show how much she hates him and his family. And second, by being honest about her true motives for marrying him and her real identity.
So for me their journey really went
full circle in season 4.
Even though the end was tragic.
About the dinner with Patrick. I always enjoyed those dinner scenes. First of all because they had always something bad happening and some new hidden secret was exposed either to the audience itself or to one of the characters. In season 1 we had that spectacular dinner with Grandpa Edrad Grayson, which Jack disturbed, and Charlotte got to know she is actually not Conrad's but David Clarke's daughter. I cannot remember if we had such a significant scene in season 2, but we had those breakfast scenes where the Grayson family were discussing their problems with the initiative. And now we have this dinner with Patrick, in which they talk about Frank and Victoria's little secret of having sent her son away when he first reached out to his mother. I like how they make transparent that all of Conrad's episodes are due to Emily poisoning him. She really goes to extremes this season. And I really like her and Daniel's reaction to Victoria trying to bind Patrick stronger to her with her lies. Emily is rolling her eyes a lot this season. Seems she is finally losing her temper and patience with all this charades Victoria puts up and the upfront lies she tells all of her children. About Emily's and Daniel's little talk at the stairs of the beach house. I like this little scene. It is not that spectacular but filled with little details that makes us understand the actual status of their relationship. Like Emily going away without kissing him. In season 1 and even till the end in season 2 they always part with a kiss. This time she just leaves him and he is so lost in thoughts about Margaux and the potential new job that he does not notice it. By the way, I love her new hairstyle. This Farrah Fawcett waves look really great on her. And the beach house got some new details as well. This co-track with the bag was not there before. About Emily and Patrick. Seems to be a theme, too. That Emily has more problems to manipulate people. Obviously Victoria warned Patrick about her.
So she has no easy game with him like with Daniel.
But funny that he just closes the door in front. He was not even rude. But Emily looks startled. About Jack's other secret before Charlotte. Too bad that most things some character does not know like Charlotte here is an open secret. Because the audience already know that Conrad was behind the bomb that killed Declan and wanted to kill Jack instead. Declan was just collateral damage in this vendetta. I guess that is the attraction, to see how people react to those truths and lies, like Jack getting to know Emily's real identity. And of course the problems that come along with it. Because this truth will destroy Charlotte's relationship with her father Conrad more than his confession in the finale. I like that Jack is the one who tells her. 'Cause she and Emily are very much estranged again.
So Charlotte would not believe it if Emily told her.
But Jack is a trustworthy source, and so he has at least a tiny revenge by bringing Charlotte up against Conrad. As I said before, I was really happy when in season 4 both Grayson children finally tried to break free from their parents. Because both Victoria and Conrad are no good role models. Sadly for Daniel it was too late, but at least Charlotte got some kind of happy end. And spoiler alert, consolation with her sister Amanda. About Nolan's intervention. Another one of my favorite scenes between the two from season 3. Maybe even from the whole show. I like how he is mixing his own concern with the words of Amanda's father.
It is a nice reminiscing to the pilot that he is reading the same lines Emily did.
On the other hand, I can understand why she is so pissed. First of all, she is right, he should have not gone through her things without her permission. But she got the box from him, so maybe he read the diaries first before handing them over. And therefore did not think that it would mean such a great breach of trust for her. I am torn with this. For me she is going too far, and I was happy that she agreed in the end. But his desperate attempt talking some sense into her was guaranteed to fail. When did Emily ever take an advice to heart and followed it if it stood against her own judgment and will? And since her revengenda means everything to her and she puts so much work and effort in it already over the years, it is very much unlikely that she would abandon this before she reached her ultimate goal, taking down the Graysons. About Emily and Conrad in church. This scene feels more whole now that I watch it again. The theme of confession, remorse and punishment for old crimes is something we see till the very end of this season. This time everyone gets his fair share of pain and penance. And from its cinematic scale, this season is far better than both 2 seasons before. We have much more shootings outside and a better blue screen. The dramatic sunset at the beach house in the scenes with Charlotte and Jack was definitely a blue screen. And we have better and more diverse indoor locations. Not only because Nolan finally has a new home. Daniel and Margaux have a new office for Voulez. And we have new additions to the cast, so most of them have their own place to live, which we get to explore a bit. Anyway, I like that they take full advantage of the church with this scene. I like the intimate vibe of this scene with the candles. And of course Conrad finally feeling something like remorse. Though his self-pity is not only for Emily hard to stomach. When you know what he will do and say at the end of the season, you know what I mean. But for now he seems really low, like Victoria when she was confronted with her firstborn son in season 2. I must give the writers credit for making us feel sorry for those two very evil characters, even though they do despicable things. About the last scene with Nolan. What I forgot to say earlier. I really like the idea with the hidden safe. Much better than Emily's hiding spot. It is a riddle to me how she can keep her infinity box a secret from Daniel now that he is living under one roof with her. Tyler, who never was in her beach house before, found it under the carpet, and Daniel already did, too, in season 1. So why is Emily keeping this not in a modern safe with fingerprints so that no one can open it but her? And the remote control is a nice touch from Nolan. Another full circle is Emily's plan to take down Conrad. 'Cause in the end he really confessed himself all those crimes. Spoiler alert. Maybe not in the way Emily expects here, but he hanged himself, as you would say. Like Emily wanted him to do with the help of Father Paul. I would say this new target is the best from this season besides Pascal. 'Cause Paul is a willing ally while Pascal just tries to save himself. And he has a much deeper connection to Emily. So as I first watched season 3 I was really hooked from the beginning and wanted to know how Father Paul's story would end. I must admit that I hoped he could help Emily and make Conrad confess, because they hinted at this outcome very much in this and the next episode. But like always, the writers had other plans, and like Murphy's Law, everything that could go wrong did go wrong.